because I'm just afraid to forget something. Plus, I have a few paragraphs that some of his friends sent that were not able to come from Washington, State Washington. They all are covered with snow, or St. Louis or something. So some people just sent me the notes that I'm going to read also. So no pressure to any of you, but if you want to say something, you're welcome to come and do it. We all will be happy to hear from you. So first of all, I'm grateful to all of you for coming today, especially those who traveled a great distance. I know it's not easy, but to share this day, thank you for doing this. We have a few of them here. I had been in the US for 11 months when Lou and I were introduced by a client of mine. He was looking for an Eastern European or Russian wife. She described him as a tall, typical American-looking guy who was very active to her taste. Tall, I suppose, but only an inch taller than me. Typical American. What does it say? Very active, yes, yes. He had to be, after spending a whole year in bed at age 13 with rheumatic fever that affected his heart and left him with 50% heart functionality, spending the next year going to bed as soon as he arrived home from school every day. During those 2 years, he read all the available books in the town library and all the surrounding towns and cities' libraries. The only way he could get himself going was by exercising, so he was always pushing himself hard. Weights, trainings, hikes. When we got together, we would hike Rancho San Antonio twice a week. It's right here, right here. He proposed to me on the top of the PG&E trail. My fingers were so swollen that I couldn't put the ring on. 11 months after we met, we got married, and 11 months later, Alistair was born. He promised me an interesting life, and let me tell you, there was never a dull moment. The morning after the wedding, I woke up in a hotel, Sofitel, in Redwood Shores, all alone. He showed up in a half an hour saying that he realized that he had forgotten his glasses at home here in Los Altos. So he had gone to pick them up and made a carafe of his special coffee beans from Red Rock Cafe downtown Mountain View. So I would have the good stuff and not some Sofitel's crap. He introduced me to American culture through all the Mel Brooks movies, Coen Brothers movies, westerns, Rocky Horror Picture, Cheech and Chong. Loved the British humor, Monty Python's, Fawlty Towers, all sorts of different music. His DVD collection was enormous, from Mongolian throat singing and the Red Army Chorus to Eric Clapton and everything in between. He had only ever known about classical music until he was 21, when his younger brothers introduced him to rock. His gift presentations to me would be CDs of some weird Sufi devotional music that he was so fond of, in a big box all wrapped up. He explained to me how important it was for me to get into that serious stuff. He would say, anybody can like Frank Sinatra. It is easy. You should learn the complex. And when he wasn't gifting me an exotic music album, he'd give me a Native American-looking t-shirt that wasn't my style at all, with Movada watch box inside. Or a set of ranches, saying that he had always wanted to get one, with a beautiful necklace hidden underneath. The first vacation we took was Puerto Vallarta for the week, not all-inclusive. We did all the tourist activities the hotel offered. Lou read 10 books in 6 days and said that he would not be able to survive one more day. So we left day early. When I was pregnant, I worried a lot about taking care of a baby that wouldn't be able to tell us what was wrong. Lou said, come on, I took care of sick animals. It's all the same. He was an absolutely crazy father. He insisted on putting on Alistair's first diaper in the hospital. He didn't want Alistair to sleep alone in his crate. He said, Galina, have you seen apes leaving their babies to sleep alone in another tree? They keep them by their side until they're ready. So we had Alistair in our bed for 6 years. He showered with the baby for the first 8 months. He danced Alistair to sleep with Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan singing. His punishment system consisted of, kid, if you're not good, I'm going to tickle you, and if that doesn't work, I'll kiss you too. Having PhD in neuropsychology, he was always interested in brain development. He would dip Alistair's baby bottle into curry or soy sauce with wasabi, or any kind of new sauce, saying, we need to develop his brain neurons and taste buds. He set up a monitor, keyboard, and mouse on the floor under his desk for Alistair, so he could be able to crawl under and use it. Sure enough, by 18 months, he was fully operating the computer by himself, making his father proud and happy. He never liked all those kids' books and was so looking forward to start Alistair on real literature. When in 2nd grade, Alistair had to do a book report on a famous person, Lou got a book on Charles Lindbergh. And for the whole month, they each took turns reading 1 page. They only got through 60 pages out of 600 plus toward the end of the month. So, thanks to internet, we were able to do the book report. And when Alistair needed to read one of the Mark Twain novels, Lou got him the complete works of Mark Twain and wanted him to read them all. And it's 3rd grade. Self-education was a very large part of his life. He never quit learning, studying, and researching. There wasn't a subject he didn't know about. He loved to argue, and most of the time his point of view would be completely opposite to his opponents. But it was easy for me to deal with that. When I was annoyed by a subject, I would either quickly change the subject or ask for foreigners' discount on language and comprehension. He insisted I have a career in the high-tech industry. I tried my best at that, but in the end, I didn't enjoy it at all. So I happily went back to hairdressing. He would always joke saying, Galina goes to work to play with hair and gossip. Regardless of his jokes, he was always very proud of my success. He was always dedicated to helping other people. First, oh my God. Sorry.
It's a client.
A friend who is probably lost. He was always dedicated to helping other people. First, it was my late father who was helping with him every step he could. He told me from the beginning of our life that we don't do any charities through any funds or organizations. We only help individuals. So we help people by helping with jobs, sending money, paying for courses, letting people stay on our couch, matchmaking, feeding everybody who was slightly hungry, and having people over that didn't have anywhere to go for Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner. He was very much aware of his heart condition, so he got a clean bill of health from the doctors before marrying me at age 50. But by 55, he needed to have aortic valve replacement surgery. He kept everything in a secret with the thickest layers of conspiracy with his brother Harry, and drove himself to the open heart surgery, finally giving me a call right after he woke up from the anesthesia. I was extremely angry. A whole bunch of his friends were in disbelief, and all the Russians in my community thought of him as a hero, a real man that didn't want his wife to worry. His explanation was that he was so afraid and so worried, he didn't want my worry to overlap and make it worse for him. When the time came for his next surgery in 2013 to fix his mitral valve, he was frantically looking for surgeons that would be able to perform the open heart surgery without full anesthesia. Because of anesthesia's negative effect, the anesthesia's negative effect would negative effect on the brain. He badly wanted to have a job and to work more. And he was 60, almost 8 then. The only country that claimed to have that kind of specialists was India. He started making the arrangements, and he even went as far as getting visa to go there. Thanks to my brother's help in letting me in on rumors that there would be layoffs in that company they work together in the next months. So, the surgery was scheduled in a week at Sequoia Hospital, Redwood City. He went through serious heart surgery with complications, and then lung surgery 4 months later. During his stay at the hospital, I was with him a lot, trying to cheer him up. I would read him jokes off of the internet and translate some Russian jokes that he thought were very different and peculiar. I knew for sure he was feeling especially bad when he would say, weekly, read me your stupid Russian jokes. He loved the very diverse neighborhood we live in and our neighbors. He put together a raised bed garden with tomatoes, and a few years later he decided to extend it so the other neighbors of our fourplex would enjoy the crops as well. He would always say that he was born and raised on a farm and that he was farmer at heart. He would spend half an hour outside in the morning watering his garden, greeting people, and spending time in the afternoon chatting with neighbors, giving advice on gardening, sharing all sorts of supplements to help his friends with aches and pains. By the way, including the dog that had an arthritis and depression. That guy was walking the dog up and down the street, and that dog got help from Lou with medication, with a supplement. So he loved to have people over for coffee or a glass of wine. He really loved to have dinner with friends, big gatherings and nice food. His highest praise to me would be halfway decent Galina, as people would say in Ohio. Unfortunately, we had to keep a no-salt regimen for the last 5 years. He was really bored with that. Every time he liked the taste of something, he'd say, it probably had salt. He couldn't stand flying or dealing with airports, so his favorite way to travel was road trips. He took many trips all the way to Florida and back, always taking different routes. And then he'd drive to Ohio even twice a year. He would often pick up hitchhikers, not only because he wanted to help, but because he loved to meet new people and different people. He enjoyed their interesting stories. I went on a trip with him last March. It was great. We live in such a beautiful country. He was apologetic that he had to go through the south, a boring route, but due to weather we couldn't go differently. We plan to go north for our next trip through the north. I guess I should get on planning it somehow, by myself, no, with my friends, whoever is on. He was determined to visit his mother, aunt, and siblings in Ohio for Thanksgiving this past year. As soon as he got his clean bill from a bunch of doctors with tons of tests right in the beginning of November, he went there, surprised them, bringing a lot of happiness and joy to everybody. I have a lot of memories. I have tons of memories, and if I would keep going, I would just keep talking and talking and talking, but you know, it's mine, it's me, it's us. I bet that he left a lot of memories with other people, and I really wish you guys all keep these memories for yourself as long as you want. He lived a full and interesting life. He loved life, and he wanted everybody around him to love it too. Let's do our best to love life as he watches over us. That's the end of whatever I was able to quote. I'm going to read a couple more if you're not tired of me. So, Vivian Maposky, she lives in Virginia. She was his high school buddy. So, she sent me this, and you know, she wouldn't be able to come, and she emailed me and kept calling. She was extremely upset. So this is what she wrote. We were friends for 60 years, so long that I knew Robert Louis Glendenning as Bob. By the way, I forgot to. So, Robert Louis Glendenning, he is Bob, his family, and for all the people that knew him in Ohio. And then he became Glenn Glendenning when he, from being in academic world and teaching at Duke University, he decided that he's done with academia. It was too political for him, and so he moved to computers. And when he moved to North Carolina, and then Boston, I think, yes. So he worked at this company. In the same department, they had 6 Bobs. And he just could not stand this Bob situation, and he decided to go with Glenn. So at that point, he became Glenn Glendenning. And when some of his friends called and asked Glenn, I know exactly who is this and who might be calling. So then, when in the beginning of the 80s, he moved in California and started his life in the Silicon Valley, the Glenn Glendenning started sounding like a speech impediment, like, you know, somebody stuttering. So he decided it's too much, and so he went from Glenn to Lou, because his middle name is Louis. So cut it short for Lou. So now you know that Bob and Glenn and Lou, it's all the same person. It's all the same person. So, Vivian, wow. He was my only male friend, as opposed to date in high school. We shared the sense of humor, though he was more acerbic than mine. His was. He taught me to ride horseback and tried to teach me chess. Back then we were the class brains. I was 5'7", and he was about the same. I wore cat's eye glasses, and we both were thin as reeds, which made for a rather geeky yearbook picture of us as a scholastic medalists. Bob was instrumental in my choosing Ohio University for college. His mother was taking summer school classes at Ohio University, I believe working toward her master's in math. And we both accompanied her one day to see the campus and talk with a few faculty. We both matriculated in the fall. He eventually transferred to Ohio State to finish undergrad school and complete his PhD in psychology. I remained at Ohio University, eventually earning my PhD also in psychology. There was a time when we worked on a joint writing project on educational reform. It never went anywhere in terms of publication, but the research and our conversations informed my work as a faculty member and college administrator through my professional life. It was during this time that our biggest rift became apparent. Bob Glenn, as he was for a while, Lou, enjoyed arguing for the sake of arguing. As we know. I am conflict averse. He could make me angrier from standing start than anyone except my mother. One time we were working in his office over the weekend and I became so enraged that I stepped out, frustrated by not being able to slam the door because of the hydraulic closure. He came after me, the door closed and locked, and he had to call security for access. Not a shining moment. As I recall that evening, we had dinner with Bill Morgan. When Lou complained that I'd made him defend Phyllis Schlafly, it's an uber-conservative person, I countered that he had made me defend the Social Security Administration. Lou started me on nutritional supplements in the mid-80s. We were having lunch in San Francisco when this server said something like, "I see you take a lot of supplements." I said, "I like a balanced diet, half uppers and half downers." And then 6.2 earthquake struck. The aftershocks made the floor roll like ocean waves. Bob was so calm, I didn't know enough to panic. It is still the strongest earthquake I've ever experienced. My friend was nothing if not adventurous. He was often the pry bar that moved me out of my comfort zone. Through all the decades since high school, he was unfailingly supportive and generous and in every sense of the word. I called him when I was grieving, when I was facing cancer, when I had issues with an alcoholic family member. I last saw him years ago, and recently I was a poor correspondent. In that regard, he was clearly a better friend than I. His death leaves a hole that will never completely fill. We knew each other, and his death shrinks. That's Vivian. And another one is John Diggs. He lives in St. Louis now with his wonderful family, wife Barbara and 3 kids. I've been thinking about Lou a lot in the last week. We met in 1985, I think, might have been 1980. What I have been thinking about is how much he changed my life. I was a programmer in Chapel Hill. I think Sarah Shapiro, who couldn't come, introduced us and somehow became friends. Lou convinced me to move to San Jose. I had just built a house and had no plans to go anywhere, but my career was going nowhere. I had just turned 30 years old. I was sitting on a bar stool watching college girls walk by, and suddenly I knew that if I didn't do something, that I would be 40 and sitting on that same bar stool watching college girls walk by. Lou says, "Come to California and we will get rich on our stock options." That didn't exactly work out for me, but it did totally change my life. If I had not done that, I would not have met Barbara or had the children I had or had any of the life I had after that. I owe all of that to him and his encouragement to be better. I will always remember Lou when I think about who I am. Not only to help someone, but meet a new and different kind of people. And also, I wanted to read this little note, if I can. Can you read your daughter's handwriting better than I can? Sarah Harvey, daughter of Judy and Bill, sent me this card. Do you want to read it? I'm sorry, I didn't want to put you on spot, but I knew that you would be happy to also be here.
One of Lou and Galina's early dates was at Sarah and Brian's wedding reception.
Yes, you probably saw the picture, some bride, not me, but your bride and groom and a whole bunch of people, it's them.
We are so sorry to learn about Lou's passing. He was such an interesting, kind-hearted person to talk to. I remember his love for world music, and he let me borrow some CDs to listen to. It really opened up my interest in that. He also let me drive his Lexus once. And that was a real thrill for a young driver who just drove beat-up used cars. He was such a funny, unique, and super intelligent person. Our thoughts and prayers are with you both. I hope that we can see each other sometime when I visit.
Thank you, Judy. Okay, guys, so I am done with talking. If anybody is ready, if anybody wants to, please, Christy, let me introduce the special guest who came all the way from Ohio. This is my beautiful sister-in-law, Chris, younger sister of Lou's.
I wasn't sure I could speak today, but after 3 shots of vodka, okay. My brother, I have one word for him, intense. He was intense on everything he did, whether it was giving us advice on really bad stock, or on books that he read that I couldn't comprehend. He was a great brother. He had so much compassion for everyone that we tried to emulate him. He was the big brother for us. I loved him, but he was an asshole. He was always right. He was always, his opinion was the best opinion. No one else counted. He graduated from high school when I was in 3rd grade. He was a lot older than me, obviously. And he would come home from college, and he'd say, "What are you reading?" And I'd say, "Nancy Drew." "What is this Nancy Drew? We can't have Nancy Drew. You have to read this and this and this. No Nurse Nancy, nothing like that." So Galina asked me to look through his books. I don't even know what they're talking about in his books. I'm still on Nurse Nancy. He was a great brother. But he tried to put his opinion on my opinion. It didn't work. We argued. He argued with everybody in our family. always arguing. When he married Galina, it was the best thing he ever did. And when he had Alec is the best thing he ever did. He was so proud of that boy. He loved that boy before he was born. He had plans for Alec. And I told him, follow in your dad's footsteps. Be a good man. I'm sorry. Be a good man.
You're doing good. Chris, you're doing good.
Be a good man. And educate yourself the way he did. Because that's what he cared about the most. education. And no Nurse Nancy books for you. Thank you all for coming. He loved all of you, and you probably knew him better than I knew him because we were so far apart, not only in age, but in distance. And we tried to keep in touch. He would call me, but all he ever did when he called me was argue with me. Always the argument. And with my mother, always the argument. But we loved him dearly, and I was glad to have him with us last Thanksgiving. And he
Tell
spent,
me how he just walked into the Thanksgiving dinner.
he did. I had Thanksgiving
surprise.
dinner all ready. He didn't do the turkey that year. As you see on
He's cutting turkey all the time.
always cutting turkey. We had the turkey, and all of a sudden, he showed up. He said, well, I didn't know you were coming. No, he didn't want me to know he was coming. It was a surprise for all of us, and we loved him dearly. That asshole.
He told me that Chris didn't have room for him at the table. She said, you can sit in the kitchen. There is a room in the kitchen if you want. There.
Yes, we had a love-hate relationship. Our family has really sick sense of humor, and the last time we were talking together, I take care of my aunt and my mother, and they were in the will for both of them. So one of the last conversations we had with the 4 siblings, who could kill one of the other siblings so we'd get more out of their wills. And so we decided, actually, none of us would benefit because Galena would take his inheritance and so on and so on. So it really didn't help to knock off one of our brothers. Thank you very much for letting me ramble on, and thank you for being his friend.
Good. Okay, anybody else?
I will say something.
Please. This is Andreas. Good friend of ours.
I probably know Lou less than most of you, but all our encounters were substantive. He used to come to our place whenever invited, and we had very good discussions, and also at his house. What struck me about Lou was his multi-dimensional thinking. But at the same time, he may have been argumentative, but only with people that were allowing him to be very close. Most of the people, let's put it this way, some of the topics that he was engaging with were not very popular within the community, some of his opinions. And I had the impression many of the people either didn't have the guts, they didn't have the youthfulness in thinking, or the curiosity to really just engage with a guy. I mean, how many people in Silicon Valley after 60, they really have an intense desire to learn and exploit the world like it's the first day that they get out of the first date. To me, that was something that I was very amazed about Lou. He had the youthfulness. But at the same time, I noticed that very few people really were engaging, because if they were engaging, given that most of the people were on the other side, if they were serious, they would be offended. Or they would have an argument. But there were no arguments at my place. So I always said, how pity. Here we get together in a very organized way for Thanksgiving, for, let's say, my birthday, and this and that. People go for the low-hanging fruits. And here is in the house, it's Lou. You need to know how to approach him. And many people did not approach him. So, when it's really sad, I said we missed a giant. I wrote it yesterday to Alice. And I went last night, I was asked to write something. how can I write something about a person that I know through intellectual discussions? It's very tall ordeal. I mean, his son, his wife, his relatives know him inside out. But I'm not sure if everybody knows the same angle that I know. But I refuse to write because I said it's too superficial. Who are you to write about Lou? But I went to his blog last night, and before I went to the blog, I remember he's a very good host. So the last year when we went at their house, the discussion went here and there, and eventually he talked to me about Irish coffee. And he said, let me fix you Irish coffee. So he fixed Irish coffee. First time in my life I had Irish coffee. Now, a few months later, I think, they were on their way to a trip
To Ohio.
to Ohio.
March.
They drove for my birthday by my place with a present that had Irish whiskey, because basically the guy was very serious about everything. And I think he recognized who is serious with him, and he was respecting that. So last night I fixed double Irish coffee. And I stayed all night until 3, 4 o'clock going through his blog. In truthfulness, I immediately sent to some of my close friends that we talk politics. Because anybody who cares about politics and is not afraid to hear an opposite view, it would be a crime not to look what Lou has been writing. And the other thing is that as I start reading, you realize that his thinking is very multidimensional. That means he is not analyzing one topic, he is branching in multiple areas, and he gives references. So, I was surprised, and this is what I looked there. He published the last thing, the 20th of January, as he was in his last month.
It was evening of 20th when we were leaving the house, running from that house.
So at that moment he published something, and he writes, not well, leaving town for some good air, so no post for a few days. I said, wow. And then he has references. So his publication, that means his argument and his focus on what he loves, is extremely intense. Because if you read what he published the last day, it's extremely very extensive. But then he writes something, I said, wow. He talks about fatherhood, and he says, I grew up on a farm. Our father was a major part of our lives and provided a great deal of training about how to do everything. We learned by working with him. Blind spots like this and the lack of understanding of the basic cultural traits of hunter-gatherer societies are what allow idiocies like toxic masculinity. So suddenly he touched a topic which we never talked. So I said, wow. And then I realized inside his blogs, he has a whole thing about what fatherhood and masculinity is. And I think I just have noticed only the top. And then to other big surprise, he finishes the blog with a song. And I'm shocked, I'm in tears to be honest when he does that, because the song is a link to a YouTube with a song by Judy Collins and Leonard Cohen. I don't know Judy Collins. And the title is, Hey, that's no way to say goodbye. So I put it there, I played it in the morning for Galina. It's extremely moving. So if you listen, and the title says it all, that's not way to say goodbye. At the beginning he says, I'm taking some time to get fresh air because I'm not feeling well, but then he ends, that's not the way to say goodbye. What a lovely standing way to move on. Now, to trigger more your curiosity about him, I said, what would happen if his website disappears? I mean, I can write a book about this guy, the guy I don't know, but through this material, I can create amazing things. So I downloaded all his work. It was more than 1,500 files I had to download. So his work is very extensive. And this is post-retirement in the last few years. He has some themes, and the themes are extremely diverse. So I have not even clicked, even though I stayed very late last night. One is advanced paranoia, biology, deep black swan. I don't know yet what it is. I'll find out. Hybris to the power of Dunning-Kruger. I really don't know what it is, but I will find out. Then Lebowski enlightenments. This is a theme. Some links, notes and nonsense. Operation Afghanistan 1000X. Operation Soft Samson. Our Best. Patriot Games. Random and Aimless. The Generalissimo and Scheherazade. I don't know what it is. I'll find out. And the last is thinking about thinking. So, what an impressive guy. And I'll finish with this. I have a yard. I also have a farming tendency because I refuse to make it perfect. With a lot of cement, it has to have life. So, it was so lively to have our ladies next to us and talk about the yard. And somebody complains, look, he has untried the yard. He has roses, and next to them he puts tomatoes, and then next to tomato he puts that. And Lou says, that's nice, that's correct. Mixing is the way to go. So, I'll finish with this. It's always amazing to see a person, it's always a sad thing to feel, to see a person aging. I feel it, and probably all of us. It's a marvelous thing to see a person aging while remaining youthful. And it's an amazing masterpiece, it's a holiness, if somebody goes to death and he's full of life. And there is no agony in his last words. He continues doing his work like, now he goes to another space, he continues doing the same thing. So I'm sure he's arguing now. Or he will say, come on, go and read that. I'm sure he will pay a visit. And he will be pleased that a few people will look at it. So, if you love Lou, you love many people. So, we love sugar. If you really love Lou, the substantive person, and you speak English, and you know how to read, and you have a computer, consider it a gift of him to you, lasting his blood. And with this,
You forgot to tell the reason why he taught you about the Irish coffee.
help me and believe me, will come back. What was it?
So he was explaining that with Irish coffee, you know, what was the same? Candy or dandy? Liquor? Nesquik. Yes, because he was teaching you
Thank you.
to make an Irish coffee in the morning for Alice to bed. Because this is how it works.
Believe me, I'm going to do it today. Let's see what happens. I will report back to you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Andreas. Here is Lou's mother-in-law, my mom. And I bet she's going to speak Russian. You know, she's going to speak Russian. Well, you know, if there are some Russian-speaking people sitting next to not Russian-speaking people, please help.
He was very good son-in-law, very attention all, in little, in deep, and all. When was big problem with health, my husband, he very good health. He with him go to doctor. Look on how he need help. What kind of meal he can eat himself. A little We've smoked marijuana, but I think
22 years ago. 22 years ago. Last week was 22 years ago since my father.
это was 24 years. Когда вы уже... Just
Go on, go on.
after your marriage. И he very interesting his health. Normal eat, normal sleep, normal, always normal. He very good help myself many times because I have many surgery. He have after me help. Last period, doctor said my children take car. I 20 years drive нормально. Но он he said, I will not drive. What are you doing? I said to him, how can you help? Okay. He was very, very attention at all. I can tell, I'm sorry, my English not very good. I didn't speaking. He said, you speaking good, you watch TV English, use English, это everyday little practice, you will speaking нормально. He was sick. И Галина me said, Mama, don't call him, he's sick. In day when he passed away, in 2 days, природа, weather, cry with us. Every time was rain. No, but today goes to funeral, was sun. It was breeze. И даже rainbow was. Это children, my children, cry это not word. Big memory about men who give big attention for family, wife, my son, myself, how he loved his son, and other my grandchildren, how he loved people. It was the best good man, friend, son, father, husband.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else wants to say anything? Please. Jim? Jen Johnson came all the way from Oregon, yes, Oregon.
So hopefully next week, a lovely, it wasn't a memorial and a
It's a celebration.
Lewis Wood loved this. So many of his friends here. Most of you don't know me. I was Lewis's first partner. And
Jen, come on, Jen was Lou's girlfriend for 8 years. For 8 years, it's a big relationship. They were boyfriend, girlfriend, and we're friends, you know. Always here, we are friends, always here.
yeah, I know what don't you have to put up with. And I know what you got after the
Good.
anyways, I'm a crier, you know, a little bit emotional. I'm a crier too.
Okay, I'm here with you girls.
And I agree that Lewis was content. Yes, he was. I listened to a lot of conversations that he had with his sister and his mom. When Lewis and I started dating, I was pretty young, he was about 14 years older than me. And I'm going to come over to my house the first few times, and he decided after a while that he liked me, and I kind of said, well, you didn't at first, and then you did. He goes, well, I finally found your books. Who hides their books in their closet? And that was the turning point for him. And he always always wanted to educate me and enlighten me about the world. And he was in the early part of his career working a lot with Bill and Judy, so I got to make good friends with Bill and Judy along the way. And it was just hard work and fun all at the same time for several years. And the intensity was there every single day. But as Galina has said many times, we loved eating. We spent most of our money on food and CDs. I still have a collection of over 1,000 CDs because of Louis. And books. That was our life. And he loved people intensely. You would not know it because he was so mean at times, but he always had their best in mind, even though it might not have agreed what they thought was the best for them. So he had an intensity that I know he loved me to death, and to the very last moment, I know that he had love for me, and he would write me and try to engage me in long conversations and intellectual conversations, and he was always very proud of everything that I did and everyone that I met, and he was very happy to introduce me to Galina, and it was very important for him to know that I liked Galina and I loved Galina. And he's done the best thing in his life. And Alistair, he was so happy when you came along. Every story that he told was about you as a starting when we got together and got to share time. So I'm so lucky to have known Louis and spent 8 years with him, and I'm so happy I got to know Galina so well.
And when my brother died, the intellect of our family decreased by like 50%. He took it all with him.
By the way, I had to wear this hat today because Louis picked it out for me.
A few rare times when we would go shopping in the mall. For Lou, shopping in the mall would be, okay, we're going to the mall, we walk in, Galina, which store? Let's say Macy's. We go into Macy's. What do we need? This. We got this, we're done shopping. Lou, this is not how shopping works. Galina, you got what you need, we're gone. So we're walking through the mall 3 years ago and passing by Bibi. Bibi was, I can't even pronounce this name of the store. Bibi? Yes, we're passing by, and he said, look, Bibi, and I said, and he said, that's your favorite store. Isn't it the store you like to get your clothes from? And I said, no, I never shop at Bibi's. And he said, I thought you did. And I said, probably it was Jen Johnson. See, that was from Bibi's. See, who would have guessed? Anyways, sure. Bill Morgan came all the way from Santa Rosa. Yes? Yes. Thank you, Bill.
My wife Judy. Let's see, I'm probably responsible for something you may not know about. I brought Lou to California. I was working for a startup, and we needed somebody that had good technical skills, and so I was wanted him to hire him. The guy that ran the company didn't want him for all the wrong reasons, and I stuck my neck out, and the first week that he was there, he fixed 6 problems that had been bedeviling the company for longer than I had been with him. And so he earned his chops and went on from there. Later on, we both left that company. And we had, through the years, an inside joke over the founder's name, which was simply, do you know what's happened to Sunan Kim? And the answer always was, nobody knows what happened to Sunan. Well, I've heard this morning a rendition of kind of an abbreviated history of Lou, given wonderfully by Galena. I have one memory that's a little different. I'm at the house and get a phone call from Lou, and he says, I'm on the way to the operating room. And he doesn't know that I'm going to go to the operating room. So we went to the operating room and I took his phone away and did what they were going to do. So then I had this discussion with you. So we talked about that for about 2 seconds, and I called her and said, Lou's having heart surgery. That's another memory that I have. I have lots of memories about conversations that we've had, that we didn't agree on. He was somebody with vast knowledge and vast facts. But it might surprise you to know that there was one area that he didn't know much about. Math. He knew some basics, but he really didn't. And yet, he could read advanced papers in math and pick up and understand the topics better than other people could who had advanced knowledge and who had years of study. He had a mind that was incredible. The last 10 years, the only time that I really heard from him, he would send, and also to Judy, a paper or a citation for something that was not well known, very important, very deep. Probably, I speak for myself, I didn't, well, understand a word of it. But he had that fertile mind that I think we've all been hearing about. So, I'm glad I brought him to California. He was incredibly proud of Alistair. And loved Galena tremendously. And at the time, yeah. So, that's all I have to say.
24 years ago, I met him for the first time. He was Galena's boyfriend, and we never came out of that. My first memory of him, he's the guy who wears non-serious Hawaiian shirts that I typically associate with vacation attire. But then he speaks in sophisticated English that I have hard time parsing. He's extremely knowledgeable and has an opinion about any topic that comes up in a discussion. But incredibly patient, trying to explain simple and yet unfamiliar concept to us or to our parents. He always brings files of books on growing creativity or painting bags for us to read. He's at the peak of his software engineering career, and he tells us who are fresh off the board, or in this case, fresh off the plane rushing immigrants, young software engineers. You're young, you're smart, you have the right skills. You will be very successful in the United States. It sounds like a nice thing to say, but so unattainable because at the time we had a hard time trying to land the very first job. I've gotten to know Lou both socially, as family, as well as professionally, and he became my mentor, who coached, taught, and encouraged me through the years. I treasured that relationship, and I wanted to tell you more about my mentor. We worked together at a small company, TSR. Both Lou and his best friend, Mark Brader, brought me in to help with the basic coding because I was too junior and to contribute and more didn't do great. First day at work at TSR, they invited me to join them for lunch. We started walking out in the building. I walked ahead of them in this narrow corridor, two of them behind me. I stopped in front of the door waiting for them to open the door for me as rationality. And nothing happened. So we stand there, probably for what feels forever. I kid you not, it was probably a good 3 minutes. In front of this door, and I'm waiting, and they continue to discuss impending collapse of the economy, seemingly oblivious of me waiting for them to open the door for me. I gave up and opened the door myself, and they went after me like nothing happened, as I didn't stand in front of this door for 3 minutes. After lunch, on the way back, the same story repeated itself, only I lost my patience after a few seconds and opened the door myself. When we were back at our desk, they told me, Anna, you don't have to wait for anyone to open the door for you. You can open any door yourself. I don't think he was talking about physical doors. I believe both Lou and Mark were teaching me a lesson. Lou and Mark Brader were the best friends, best co-workers. They always worked together through the years. And together, they adopted me as a routine. I used to think about them as two musketeers. Each of them taught me the different skills. While Mark was teaching me good habits of software engineering, Lou taught me many lasting life skills. He taught me work ethics by his own example. He gave 120% of himself to work. He didn't slack and he was always productive. And the days he felt non-productive, he would work in the evenings or rise harder the next day. Because he wanted to make sure he delivers not only what people expected of him, but always more. I always admired him for this dedication and tried to do the same. Lou was the most curious person I met in my life. He was learning new things continuously. No subject was off limits. Nothing was boring. That curiosity made him immensely more knowledgeable and gave him the ability to see things from a very wide perspective. He encouraged the same curiosity in me. Last year, I got asked, what is there for you at work after so many years? And without thinking, I said, I'm curious. And immediately thought back to Lou and his curiosity. He was a very generous person, and he taught me to be generous with the knowledge. He wanted to spread what he knew to all people who were interested. He taught me that knowledge is not zero-sum game, and the more you share knowledge, the more you love yourself. Lou shared with me advice that ultimately powered my professional career. He said, every night, reflect on your day and see whether you learned at least one thing to put on your resume. If not, your day is wasted. It became a mantra for me. I dropped the resume part, and I live by Lou's lesson of learning every day. Through all these years, I felt Lou's and Mark's support. They gave me sound advice on technology as well as how to navigate organizational challenges. They built up my confidence when I lamented of how hard is it to be a woman engineer. They were proud of my achievements, and during social gatherings, I would tell them what I love at work and how grateful I am for their mentorship. We would look at each other and dream with what I would describe to the fatherly pride. I always cherish those memories. Now both of them are gone. But what a lasting effect Lou and Mark had in my life and probably on the life of other people they mentored. Today I'm of similar age as Lou was 24 years ago, when the first time he shared with me his thoughts. And these days, I repeat Lou's advice to the next generation of young and community support, who are now of the same age as I was those years ago. And I only hope that I can have the same impact on their lives as Lou had in mine. There were only a few people over the years, I can count them on one hand, that had a profound effect on me. Lou was one of them, and I always will miss him.
And what can I say? Opinionated doesn't quite describe him. Very fluent. He had an idea just about, an opinion about just everything. And most of his opinions were pretty eccentric. And I really appreciated that. I really enjoyed that enormously. Holiday after holiday, we were sitting next to each other because we were probably the only non-Russian speaking at the table. And Lou liked to tell jokes, and I found they were kind of spicy. I once asked him how was his life before he met an American woman. He told me that he was a serial dater. He told me that once he dated a girl, she was very cute, but more than anything, she had perfect teeth. So he told her, he's like, wow, you have perfect teeth, you know. And she said, well, of course, I'm a dentist. So then Lou said, wow, maybe if I start dating a gynecologist, she would have a perfect vagina. Sorry guys, that joke was approved by Anita.
It's a family joke.
Okay, so he told me the joke more than once, maybe more than twice. And I actually never said anything to him because I thought he really liked me. And it actually really amused me greatly. I also want to say that I'm terribly and enormously grateful for how patient he was with the kids, for our kids. Sometimes, you know, they will be very noisy. Sometimes they were fights that end up on targeting pictures, family pictures, music instruments. And he never once complained about the noise, about the pillow fights. And so he was a very gentle man, a very, very loving man.
Knowing Lou for maybe
Lizzie.
Same as Lizzie, yes, sorry. I'm Lizzie. Nice to meet you all. I only got to know Lou for maybe about 7 months, but I lived with him in his presence. Often we were alone at home together. And I made the mistake of avoiding him most times. You've heard that he liked to argue, and he wasn't afraid to tell you when he disagreed with something you were doing, you know, no matter how important it was to you. And at first that was kind of hard to get used to, but you know, I slowly started to learn that the reason he was saying these things was because he wanted the best for every person that he met. Anything that he said that might feel weird, he just wanted you to think deeper about things, and he wanted everybody to be able to access the knowledge that he had and to better themselves. And I really respected him for that. And I'll always regret not talking to him more, because at the end of the day, you could say anything to that man. You could say anything you wanted, and he would take it in, and really think about it, and really consider it, and often not agree with it, but you know. What are you going to do? And, you know, Alistair doesn't like speaking in front of crowds, and, you know, fair enough, but, Lou was such a good father to him, and Alistair's been telling me that it's going to be hard to get used to not having Lou's input. Anytime he had a question about anything, anytime he needed advice or just a second opinion on anything, his dad was the first person he'd go to. And there was a good reason for that. Lou was really unique, and I wish I could have had more time to get to know him, but luckily I have a piece of him, and I'm so lucky to be introduced into this family and to get to know everybody in this community, because to have community is such a beautiful thing. Thank you for accepting me and bringing me in and being so
Forever. Here is a
family. Here is me. And also my brothers and my mom and dad who are not in this picture. My uncle died 2 weeks ago, and everybody is upset. Mostly my Aunt Galena and her son Alistair and Lizzie. And I wanted to cheer people up and just tell them that Lou might not be here with us right now, but he is always in our hearts. And I'm just telling you to stay strong, because we've been doing it for many years, and I know you can do it now if we've been doing it like that. So hold it. Thanks for watching.
A few years back, we all were attending this big gathering. It was Mila and Boris' 25th wedding anniversary. So we all came to this beautiful celebration, and everybody was dressed up very, nicely. And Alla's daughter, Anna, she was 14 years old, and it was the first serious event for her. So she was wearing this long dress, high heels, makeup, full 9 yards, whole 9 yards for a 14 years old kid. So she was all glowing, beautiful young lady, came to the party, sat at the table, and here we were sitting at one round table, us, there was Pavel, Lou, so we were all at the same table, and so Alla, Leon, Anna, so here we're sitting at the table and celebrating the big event, eating, drinking, and then Pavel was on the phone, just browsing, and just suddenly he said, "Guys, Bin Laden was just caught and killed." And everybody around the table was, "Wow, oh my God, wow." And Anna just obliviously said, "Who is Bin Laden?" And everybody at the table just gave her this look like, "Anna, Bin Laden." And she said, "I'm sorry, I don't know." And everybody were looking kind of down on her for that. And Lou said, he just took her hand and said, "Anna, believe me, hundreds of men would be happy explain to you who the Bin Laden was. That's not a problem. All these men would be happy to do it for you." So at this point, Alla said that from that moment on, Anna was always into current politics. When she came home, she read everything about Bin Laden. She knew from that moment what the guy was, what happened and everything. And from that moment on, she was always current with the current politics, not the deep stuff that Lou was interested, but the current things, what's going on, who is who and who is where and stuff like this. So this was absolutely Lou kind of thing. He would not let anybody down next to him, especially beautiful girls. No, never. Anybody?
Cressa, this is Olin, who is 3.5, and my husband Marius, who's back here. We just have to share that since moving in, it was over 2 years ago, Lou and Galena have made us feel such a part of the neighborhood. Every time we went outside and we started playing in the front yard, Lou would come out and say, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And Olin would just talk with Lou and just chat with him. And Lou helped build a front garden just to kind of make us feel connected with nature. And Lou and Galena joined Olin on his first birthday in our house. And it's just really special to feel like our neighbors are friends, and we really do prize that. I don't have much more to add to that, but just being here and feeling like we're part of this family, even when it's just who you feel like you just out of the draw, who you are living next to.
I politely disagreed with Lou a lot of times on topics, but we always had the common conversation of nature and how big this guy was growing. Look at everyone during the show. He's being funny. But otherwise, we just wanted to really be here because Lou and Lena and Alistair are such a part of our lives here in Sunnyvale. And it's almost like a second family just below us. And we always apologize about how many tantrums and shouting and dropping of balls that we could hear. And Lou just was always...
No, it's life. We love to have life around, above us, around us. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, President.
Deepest condolences of the fact we lost Lou. We want to share some wonderful experience I had with Lou. It was back in 1997 when our family just arrived in USA and also lost for a few months without knowledge of English, trying to adapt ourselves to a new life. We obviously were scared to talk to real American people, except one, who was the first one welcome us to his house with Galina. Lou found job for my wife Anna. Where's Anna? Yeah, he found a first job for her, and he started to help. My wife started to help Mark, his friend, to take care of his house. Lou always was helpful to us during the most challenging time of our lives, moved to different country. Me and my wife started to visit Glendanians more and more, and we were always welcome. I love the fact that anytime we come to their house, we always said, "What would you like to drink?" I always choose Diet Coke, and he started to give me Coke anytime I just walk in the house, in the door. And I took this habit to offer drinks to my guests and buy coffee in Lou. Galina, Lou, and Alistair used to live next door to Chinese restaurant and Homestead Road. And me in particular always waited for either Lou or Galina to offer to go there. It was a good thing. He listened to different type of music, and I borrowed CDs from him time by time. We had a long conversation about life back in Russia, and he gave me all type of advices I keep use nowadays. Then we all got our jobs, and life became very intense and busy. And I'd like to our younger generation sitting here to know that we are never too busy to make time to each other. We need to make more time for each other and find that balance in life to check up on one another. We started to see each other once in a year and then stop seeing each other at all because of my job and Galina's job requires evenings to spend with clients rather than friends and family. I'm sure some of you are getting beautiful holiday greetings from London as me and my wife. We always post them on our fridge and replace them every year. We got one past last December, and Londoners looked very happy and nice, along with Alistair's girlfriend. Unfortunately, as we all know, you cannot reverse time, but if someone asks me now, do you regret about something in your life, my list would be consist of few notes include Lou, who I wish to spend more time with. He will be one of our mind forever. He's a wonderful man in real American job.
And I think I got to meet Lou for like 5 minutes one day. I was waiting for my daughter to show up because I was going to drop her off somewhere. And he was himself right from the gate in that 5 minutes. He had said something, I can't even remember how he said it, but he had been thinking about something, and I'm like, would you care to share? I'm interested, and of course he did. And he shared with me what he had been thinking, but I think I would have liked him, and even Galina, before I met them, and here's why. Because something Elizabeth had said to me from the very beginning was how close Alistair was to his parents and how much that meant to him. And you don't always hear that, and that's unfortunate, but that was just a blessing. And so I think even if I never met him, I would have had, that would just stuck with me. Because that doesn't just happen. That's a relationship that's intentional. When you're growing up child, just still thinks the best of you and still loves you like that, and it's still that important, and that will stick with me, and I think that that's beautiful. So I just really need to share that.
Thanks, Dawn. Basically, most of the time when I could catch him, not complaining about taking pictures of him, it was like sitting at the table, doing something around the table. He would never let me have a big celebration for his birthday. He didn't like attention to himself. He was this kind of humble man when it would come to him and his person. It would be something very small, just a few people, Alistair's friends. You know, his birthday would be like 3 of Alistair's friends and, you know, a little bit of food. And he wouldn't say, oh, no singing, no nothing. For his 70th birthday, I said, how about we'll have some big gathering, your friends and stuff, you know, we'll do big, good celebration. And he would say, what to celebrate? 70 years old. It's nothing to celebrate, it's old. No, it's not old, it's wise, you're still young, you know, you have a young wife, you know, it's young, what are we talking about? No, he didn't want any attention to himself. And today's day, I guess what I wanted for him, it's not what he would want for himself, it's what I wanted for him. I'm so happy that I was able to bring you all here. I'm so thankful to everybody who had strength to get up and say words. And I know whoever we're not talking, you guys all have it inside. It's hard to talk. So thank you. And at this point, I want us to just start eating and drinking. We have all this beautiful food, beautiful spread of dishes, and enormous amount of wines and, you know, any kind of drinks. So please lead on, enjoy. I'm happy that you are here. So let's enjoy food and drinks. We can walk, we can do things. Just be here.